Today we're here to announce that we have arrested Brian Leigh Drips for the murder and rape of Angie Dodge. Drips is 53 years old and has been residing most recently in Caldwell, Idaho. His DNA matches the DNA sample left at the scene of the crime.
A break in a cold case murder pulls an alleged killer off the streets after he's been wandering free for more than 2 decades. Good evening, I'm Todd Kuntz. Thanks for being here with us tonight. Of course, that is our big story of the day. Idaho Falls Police arrest a suspect in western Idaho linked to the 1996 cold case murder of Angie Dodge in Idaho Falls. This man is their new suspect, 53-year-old Brian Leigh Drips. He has been living in Caldwell. He was arrested last night by Caldwell Police and is now in the Canyon County Jail. I was at the press conference this afternoon when the announcement was made. Idaho Falls Police Chief Bryce Johnson said DNA evidence from Drips was matched directly to Angie Dodge from the murder scene in 1996. Now, this is new DNA technology. Parabon Labs out of California does genetic testing so people can find their origins. They use 600,000 markers. The Idaho State Lab uses only 20. So the Parabon Lab was able to create a lead on who the murderer might possibly be.
We originally had it narrowed down to about 6 men, but it turned out there was a 7th, and that was Brian Drips. So it took perseverance to find him, to find that he even existed, and then identify him. And then, of course, our wonderful, wonderful officers and investigators took that across the finish line.
So from there, the Idaho Falls detectives took that information as a lead and had to get DNA from now the new suspect that the Idaho Crime Lab could use to match to the DNA from the crime scene.
Over some time, they were following him and a cigarette went out the window, and we thought, oh, we can grab this cigarette, that's going to work. A cigarette in the middle of the street isn't as easy to recover as you might think, especially on a busy street where there's lots of cars going by. So we had to let him drive through before they went out to get it. By the time the detectives got out, they were dodging cars playing that Frogger game, and the cigarette butt we couldn't distinguish from the 50 other cigarette butts that were in the road. And so they got a little dejected, but they persevered on. After about 20 hours of surveillance after that, and they redeployed a little bit, another cigarette butt went out the window. One of the detectives was right there to mark that and to make sure we had the right one. They got that cigarette butt.
Once they got that DNA from that cigarette butt, the Idaho lab matched it to the DNA from the 1996 crime scene. Caldwell Police then arrested Drips. We were told today at the press conference that upon questioning, Drips first lied about any possible connection to the Dodge murder case. They say after 5.5 hours of questioning, he then confessed. That takes us up to today. Now, when the press conference was over, I had the chance to speak with Carol Dodge, Angie's mother. I asked her how it felt when she got this news of the arrest last night.
I think that last night when they told me that they had found him was more overwhelming than hearing his name today. I think I gasped yesterday. Today, just hearing his name, I don't know, I guess I got my air supply back, right? It was a shock. I think it was a shock for everybody.
I also talked with this man. This is Brent Dodge, Angie's brother, about the emotions that have come with this day after 23 long years.
Yeah, gratitude on one end of the spectrum, gratefulness, yeah, gratitude. The other thought that I had was, zero restitution from this individual. 23 years later, I don't even know if you can describe him as a coward.
Now, this case has been going on, as you heard right there, for 23 years. KIDK Eyewitness News 3 reporter Tristan Lewis has the timeline of events in the Angie Dodge case from 1996 up to today.
The Angie Dodge case dates all the way back to June 3rd, 1996, when Dodge was found stabbed to death in her home in Idaho Falls. Later that year, police began questioning 2 suspects, Benjamin Hobbs and Christopher Tapp. Hobbs was released due to lack of evidence. But in January 1997, Tapp was arrested on charges of murder and rape. Police said Tapp confessed to stabbing Dodge. Later, Tapp said he felt coerced into the confession and claimed his innocence. On December 11, 1998, Tapp was found guilty by a jury and sentenced to 30 to life in prison. In 1999, Tapp filed an appeal to the Idaho Supreme Court, who later affirmed his conviction. For about 10 years, Tapp filed 3 conviction relief petitions, with a judge dismissing all of them. Then on May 12, 2015, a 4th conviction relief was filed involving 2 issues. First, on if prosecutors should have turned over videos of the interrogation and polygraphs. This was later dismissed. The second was if new evidence can be presented to show Tapp was coerced into confessing.
They failed to produce the 3 polygraph tapes. The 3 polygraph tapes showed a pattern of Chris Tapp would give one story and then take a polygraph test. He would fail the polygraph test, then they would tell him what to say, and then he would change his story, and then he would take another polygraph test, and he'd fail the polygraph test. He would change his story again to fit what he thought was the right thing to say to pass the polygraph test.
Bonneville County Prosecutor Danny Clark hired a private firm to investigate the Tapp case in July of 2015. Then, September 2016, an independent investigation report was released to the public. The investigator on the case said he did not think Tapp was the man behind the knife, but he does believe Tapp was in Dodge's apartment when she was murdered. On March 22nd, 2017, Tapp became a free man after a resentencing hearing.
Victory!
He was sentenced to second-degree murder for his role, already having served 20 years in prison, which is past the normal amount of time a second-degree murder charge would normally receive. He was released. The charge for rape against Tapp was dropped after DNA testing cleared him of any involvement.
To the community and everybody, I thank you for everything that they've supported me, stood by me, and helped my family and myself over all these years.
Reporting in Idaho Falls, I'm Tristan Lewis.
Christopher Tapp was at this afternoon's press conference. He was seated just 2 people from me. We wanted to know if he has any resentment, but he says he's let those feelings go.
I had the bitterness for a while, but it just goes away. You'll eat at you and it'll eat at you, and it will destroy you. And I would never let anybody win. And that was my whole entire mindset, was I wouldn't let them win. In a few weeks, we'll see what happens. I believe in my heart, I know I've been innocent, I know I'm innocent, and everybody in the community and everybody knows in the world that I'm innocent, so my day will come.
As for Christopher Tapp in this case, Chief Johnson said there will be another press conference in the next 2 weeks. We will be there to ask about Tapp's future. Today I also asked how confident the detectives are that Drips acted alone. Again, Police Chief Johnson said more of those questions would be answered in 2 weeks. All of our past stories and the history behind this case have been archived on our website. We will stay close to these new developments and update you with more reports as such information comes in, such as when Brian Drips arrives in Bonneville County from Canyon County. Of course, you can always find that and the latest information on our website at KIDK.com. We will be right back.